The first sign was not snow. It was the water bucket. At noon in the middle of October, a skin of ice formed across the top while the bucket sat beside a lit stove. 18-year-old Nora Vale pressed one finger against the ice, then looked through the window of the mercantile. Outside, Cinder Gap was loud with ordinary life. A freight wagon rattled past the livery. Men argued over timber prices. Two boys chased a hoop through the mud. Above them, the Bitterroot Mountains stood under a pale, empty sky. No storm clouds, no falling temperature anyone could feel. But the bucket had frozen anyway. By sunset, Nora was dragging a hand sled uphill with 80 pounds of flour, beans, coal, lamp oil, and dried onions strapped beneath a canvas sheet. Everyone else was carrying winter supplies down into town. Nora was carrying hers into the mountain. The sled runners shrieked over bare stone as she climbed beyond the last cabin, beyond the cemetery fence, beyond the trail used by hunters. Her dark auburn braid had worked loose beneath a wool cap. The sleeves of her charcoal coat were patched at both elbows. Each step drove pain through the blisters beneath her heels. She kept climbing. Near the ridge, a stand of wind-bent firs leaned over a wall of granite. Nora dropped to one knee, cleared dead needles from a split in the rock, and pulled a rusted iron ring hidden beneath the roots. A narrow slab shifted inward. Cold darkness opened behind it. The passage was barely wide enough for her shoulders. 10 feet in, it widened into an old survey chamber cut by hand into the mountain. Timber braces crossed the ceiling. A stone flue disappeared through a crack overhead. Along one wall stood shelves. Nora had repaired from abandoned mine boards. Along another, split pine, coal, and kindling were stacked in separate rows. The place had no name. Her father had called it the High Room. He had found it while mapping a failed rail route years before Nora was born. The railroad never came. The men who cut the chamber left their drill marks in the walls and went east. But Eli Vale remembered it. When Nora was 9, he brought her there during a summer storm and taught her how to clear the flue, test the braces, and listen for water behind the rock. Down in town, he told her, people watch the calendar. He tapped the granite with his knuckles. Up here, you watch what the world is doing. Nora had not understood then. She understood now. She pulled the sled through the entrance, unpacked every bundle, and wrote each amount in a small ledger. 52 pounds of flour, 29 pounds of beans, 9 pounds of dried onions, 6 tins of lamp oil, 3 sacks of coal. Enough for one person through a hard month. Not enough for a bad winter. Her father had been dead for 11 months. A snapped trace chain had thrown him beneath a freight wagon on the western road. By the time the wagon reached Cinder Gap, Nora was alone except for her older half-brother, Wade, and his wife, Nell. They had not hated her. Hatred would have been easier. They had simply run out of room for kindness. That September, Wade opened the pantry, counted 6 sacks of grain, then counted the people around his table. His wife was expecting another child. 2 little boys already slept beside the stove. Winter feed had doubled in price after a grasshopper summer. The family cow had gone dry. Wade stared at the shelves for a long time. Then he set Nora's father's coat on the bench and said, "I can give you 2 weeks." Nora did not ask what happened after 2 weeks. The answer was already standing in the empty spaces between the sacks. She left the next morning with a blanket, a skillet, a bedroll, and $11 sewn into the cuff of her dress. For several nights she slept in the hayloft above the abandoned assay office. When the owner discovered her, he did not call the sheriff. He only pointed toward the door. and said he could not be responsible if the roof came down. So Nora climbed to the high room. At first it was only a dry place to sleep. Then the mountain began sending warnings. Mice vanished from the grain bins behind the mercantile. Deer crossed the lower road in daylight. Smoke from every chimney flattened north instead of rising, and one morning Nora saw a line of geese flying south, so low their wings nearly brushed the river cottonwoods. The oldest teamster in town watched them and frowned. Everyone else laughed. That was the morning Nora spent 9 of her last $11 on food that would keep. No sweet bread, no coffee, no canned peaches. She bought lard, oats beans, salt, flour, lamp oil, onions, and 2 coils of rope. Mr. Bell, the mercantile owner, watched her stack the supplies on the sled. "You feeding a logging camp?" "One person." "For how long?" Nora tightened the canvas. "As long as the mountain decides." Mr. Bell smiled as though she had made a joke. She had not. Outside the smithy, 3 men stopped hammering long enough to watch her pass. Cal Rusk, the blacksmith, leaned against the doorframe with a horseshoe in one hand. "Val," he called, "you opening a store up there?" Nora did not stop. "I'm closing a debt." The men looked at one another. "What debt?" She turned once, her hands still on the sled rope. "The one winter collects." A burst of laughter followed her up the road. That line traveled through Cinder Gap before she reached the ridge. By evening, children were pretending to be Nora Vale, dragging broken crates through the street and shouting that winter was coming to collect. She heard them from the mountain. She kept hauling. Every trip had a purpose. Coal first, because wet wood lies. Flour sealed in waxed cloth, beans in lidded tins, salt high off the floor, water in stoneware crocks, never glass. She raised her sleeping pallet on cedar poles. She packed moss and clay into the seams around the stone door. She tested the chimney with handfuls of damp grass and watched where the smoke moved. On the 4th night, something moved beyond the back brace. Nora froze. The lamp flame narrowed in the draft. Another scrape followed. Not claws, leather against stone. She reached for the short-handled, splitting maul beside the stove. Her father had taught her not to chase noises underground. A person who enters darkness too quickly gives the darkness an advantage. Nora lifted the lamp. "Whoever you are," she said, "I know the second passage is there." Silence. The rear wall looked solid, but one timber brace leaned at an angle, no support beam needed. Behind it, blackness breathed a thin ribbon of cold air into the room. Nora waited. No one answered. She set the maul across her knees and stayed awake until dawn. When morning came, she searched the chamber. Nothing was missing. No food had been touched. The hidden passage remained dark and narrow, but beside the outer door sat a bundle wrapped in burlap. Inside were 2 snowshoe hares, cleaned and skinned, with a small tin of rendered fat. No note, no tracks on the stone. Nora looked toward the rear passage. Then she carried the food inside. Nothing useful was wasted. The meat went into a stew. The bones simmered for broth. The fat sealed cracks in the leather around her boots. The cord became a hanging line. 3 days later, a new iron pin appeared beside the stone door, where the old latch had begun to bend. Someone knew the high room. Someone was watching what she did with it. The weather stayed bright. That was what frightened her most. By the 3rd week of October, Cinder Gap should have seen 2 snows. Instead, the afternoons turned almost warm. Men repaired fences in shirt sleeves. Wash hung outside overnight. Ranchers delayed bringing cattle down from the upper grazing country. At the hotel dining room, people called it a gift. Nora called it borrowed time. she tried to warn them. She stood near the stove while ranchers ate biscuits and gravy and said, "Bring your stock down now. Fill barrels. Cut twice the wood you think you need." Conversation faded, then a chair scraped. Sheriff Hollis looked up from his plate. "Based on what?" "The animals are moving wrong. The smoke is lying low. The spring above Miller's Cut stopped running yesterday." A young cattle buyer grinned. "And the frozen bucket?" A few men chuckled. Nora looked at him. "Yes." The grin widened. "Nora, that bucket was beside a drafty door. It was beside a stove. Then the stove needed tending." Laughter rolled across the room. Nora waited for it to end. "Cold is settling high," she said. "When it drops, it will drop all at once." The hotel owner began collecting plates, a polite signal that the conversation was over. Nora stepped back into the street. An old woman followed her out. Ada Pike had delivered half the children in Cinder Gap and buried more than a few of them. She wore a black shawl in every season and walked with a cane cut from mountain ash. She looked toward the bright northern sky. "My mother used to call this widow weather," Ada said. Nora waited. "Because it smiles before it takes a husband." The warmth left Nora's face. Ada gripped her sleeve. "Keep carrying." That afternoon Nora bought the last coal Mr. Bell would sell her on credit. He marked the amount in his book, then added a sack of cracked corn to the order. "I didn't ask for that." "No. I can't pay for it." Mr. Bell tied the sack shut. "You can tell me I was foolish in the spring." Nora understood what he was really saying. She put the corn on the sled. At the ridge, she found fresh boot marks beside the fir roots. One set, large. The tracks came from the east face, stopped at the hidden door, then returned the way they had come. Inside, a strip of new stovepipe rested beside the flue. Whoever watched the high room had decided her work mattered. Nora fitted the pipe before dark. That night the northern stars disappeared one by one, not behind clouds, behind a gray wall rising from the earth. The sound reached the mountain before the storm did. A steady, far-off roar, like a river running beneath frozen ground. Nora stepped outside. The valley below was still lit by lamps. A fiddle played somewhere near the hotel. Horses shifted in the livery. A dog barked twice, then went quiet. The gray wall swallowed the far ridge. Nora looked at her ledger. 106 pounds of flour, 61 pounds of beans and corn, 24 pounds of dried meat, 6 crocks of water, coal for perhaps 12 days if she burned carefully. She had planned for one person. The mountain was sending more. The wind hit just after 11, not as a gust, as a collision. The stone door slammed against its iron pin. Dust sifted from the braces. Every flame in the chamber bent flat. Then came the snow. It struck the mountain with a sound so constant it stopped sounding like weather. The world outside became one long pressure. Nora fed the stove, checked the flue, and wrapped rope around the inner latch in case the pin failed. She did not sleep. Near dawn, the chimney began to cough. Smoke rolled back into the room. Nora tied a scarf over her mouth, climbed onto the woodpile, and drove the new stovepipe higher through the vent, using the flat of the maul. The draft caught. Smoke snapped upward. She looked at the pipe, then at the dark rear passage. The unseen stranger had known exactly what the storm would do. By morning, the outer door would not open. Snow had packed against it like poured earth. Nora dug with a coal shovel until a blade of blue light appeared. Wind forced snow through the gap and across the floor. She widened the opening just enough to crawl out. Cinder Gap was gone. Only the church steeple, the hotel roof, and the top of the grain elevator stood above the white. The road had vanished. Fences had vanished. Cabins looked like low humps beneath the drifts. Nora started to pull the door closed. Then she saw movement near the old cemetery. A black shape rose, fell, and rose again. She grabbed the long rope, looped one end around a granite brace, and tied the other beneath her arms. Outside, the cold took her breath before she could draw it. The wind erased depth. Sky and ground became the same color. Nora moved by counting rope lengths and driving the shovel handle ahead of her to find buried rocks. The shape appeared again. A man was crawling uphill with a child strapped to his back. Nora reached him near the cemetery gate. It was Ben Larkin, the schoolmaster. Blood had frozen along one side of his face. The child was his 10-year-old nephew Jamie, limp beneath a horse blanket. "The schoolhouse chimney came down," Ben shouted. "We tried the hotel. Roof's gone." Nora put 2 fingers against Jamie's throat. A pulse. Weak but there. She unfastened the boy, tied him against her own back, and pushed Ben toward the rope. "Hold it with both hands. I can walk. You can fall while holding it." Ben did not argue. The climb took less than 10 minutes. It felt like an hour. Twice the wind lifted Nora sideways. Once Ben disappeared to his waist in a drift. The rope was the only straight thing left in the world. When the fir roots finally appeared, Nora nearly missed them. She dragged Ben through the opening, cut Jamie from the blanket, and laid him beside the stove. The boy's boots were frozen hard. Nora removed them slowly, wrapped his feet in dry wool, and warmed his chest before his hands. Ben stared at the shelves. Food, water, coal, blankets, order. Everything the town had mocked stood around him. His mouth opened. Nora handed him a cup of warm broth. "Drink first," Jamie coughed. 20 minutes later, color returned to his lips. Ben lowered his face into both hands. By noon, the knocking began. 3 blows against stone. Cal Rusk arrived with his wife and baby daughter, all 3 tied together with harness leather. An hour later came Ada Pike, guiding 2 children whose mother had been injured when a roof beam fell. Then Mr. Bell, the mercantile owner, with frost whitening his eyebrows and a deep cut across his palm. Each time the door opened, the storm tried to enter with them. Each time, Nora made room. By nightfall, 11 people crowded the high room. The next morning, there were 16. On the third day, 21. A ranch hand with a broken wrist. A widow from the North Road. 3 miners who had abandoned their shack when the snow reached the eaves. Wade, Nell, and their 2 boys. Wade stood just inside the entrance, snow melting from his beard, unable to look at his sister. Nora looked past him. "Where's the baby?" "Not yet," Nell said, one hand on her stomach. A contraction bent her forward before the words finished. Ada Pike was beside her at once. The high room, built by men who expected steel rails, became a birthing room during the worst storm Cinder Gap had ever seen. Nora gave Ada her cleanest sheets. She boiled water. She moved the smallest children to the far wall. Then she opened the ledger. 21 people. Maybe 22 before morning. The numbers no longer looked like supplies. They looked like time. Coal, 6 days. Flour, 4 days at full ration. Beans and corn, 5. Water, enough if everyone drank carefully and the vent ice could be melted. The storm showed no sign of breaking. Nora cut every ration by 1/3. No one complained. The 4th day was worse. The flu iced over twice. One of the miners developed a fever. Jamie's toes darkened at the tips. Nell labored for 14 hours while the wind hammered the door. Near midnight, a baby cried. The sound changed the room. Adults who had been staring at the fire lifted their heads. Children smiled for the first time in days. Wade sat against the wall and wept without hiding it. Ada wrapped the baby in Nora's father's spare wool shirt. "A girl," she said. Nell looked toward Nora. "What should we call her?" Nora shook her head. "Call her after someone who gets to grow up warm." No one spoke for a moment. Then Ada placed the child against her mother. The baby was proof that the room was not only keeping death outside, it was keeping life inside. But life consumed food. The next morning, Nora scraped flour dust from the corners of a sack. Ada watched her. "How long? 2 days. Storm? Could be 3. Could be 10. Ada took a small pouch from beneath her shawl. Dried sage. Beans and strips of apple fell into Nora's hand. "My burial dress has a deeper pocket," Ada said. "I decided I didn't need all of it yet." Nora almost laughed. Instead, she added the food to the shelf. Then something unexpected happened. Ben Larkin opened the lining of his coat and removed 2 packets of oats he had hidden for Jamie. Cal Rusk produced a slab of bacon wrapped in newspaper. Mr. Bell had sewn coffee and rice into the canvas around his bedroll. One miner had dried mushrooms in a tobacco tin. Wade carried 3 pounds of cornmeal beneath his shirt and had said nothing, because shame had made him guard it. He set it down last. "I thought I was protecting my boys." Nora looked at the food. "You were. From everyone else. Now everyone else is protecting them." Wade's shoulders folded. He pushed the cornmeal toward her. The shelf filled by inches. Not enough to make them comfortable. Enough to make them a community. That evening, the sound came from the rear passage again. 1 scrape, then 3 measured knocks against timber. Nora took the lamp and moved the angled brace. Cold air rushed across her face. A narrow tunnel sloped upward into darkness. "Stay here," Cal said. Nora handed him the ledger. "If I don't come back, burn 2 pieces of coal at a time, no more." She entered the passage. The tunnel twisted through raw stone. In places she had to crawl beneath old beams. Wind whistled ahead. Then a lantern appeared. An old man stood in a second opening 20 yards up the ridge. He wore a buffalo coat, white with snow, and held the lead rope of a mountain mule. Behind the mule dragged a low freight sled packed beneath hides. The man studied Nora as though he had been expecting her. "You took long enough to open that brace," he said. Nora raised the lamp. "You left the hares and the stovepipe." "Who are you?" "Gideon Shaw." The name meant nothing to her. He looked past her into the tunnel. "I helped cut that room in '69. Railroad paid us for 6 weeks, then decided the grade was too steep. 3 of us stayed 1 winter and turned the powder chamber into a refuge." Nora stared at the sled. "What's under the hides?" "Enough to keep your people alive." "My people." The words struck her harder than the wind. Gideon began unloading sacks of barley, smoked elk, hardtack, dried peas, candles, and a keg of lamp oil. "You watched me?" "I watched what you carried." "Why didn't you speak?" "Because a full shelf can make a selfish person dangerous." Nora's expression hardened. "And you decided I wasn't selfish?" Gideon glanced toward the room where 21 people shared the heat. "No, the storm decided." Together they moved the supplies through the tunnel. When Nora stepped back into the high room, every face turned toward her. Gideon emerged behind her with a sack over one shoulder. No one cheered. For several seconds, relief was too large for sound. Then Mr. Bell removed his cap. Cal Rusk did the same. Wade looked at Nora as if he were seeing the person his arithmetic had erased. Gideon set the sack at her feet. "I brought food," he said. "She built the reason it matters." Nora opened the ledger. Work came before gratitude. She counted each sack, measured each ration, and added 4 days to the coal plan because Gideon knew a second vent that would burn cleaner. The blizzard lasted 9 days. For 9 days, Cinder Gap existed inside one room cut into granite. Children learned to feed the stove without wasting kindling. The miners reinforced the weakest brace. Ben Larkin turned multiplication lessons into ration counts. Cal repaired tools with a pocket hammer. Ada watched the newborn breathe. Mr. Bell learned that flour spilled on a shelf could be swept, sifted, and used. Wade took every unpleasant job before Nora could assign it. And Nora slept in pieces of 20 minutes, waking whenever the flue changed sound. On the 9th morning, silence returned. Not the threatening silence before the storm. A softer one. The kind left behind after something enormous has passed. Nora climbed the rear tunnel with Gideon and pushed open the upper hatch. Sunlight struck the snow so brightly, she covered her eyes. The valley below had become a white sea, broken by chimneys and treetops. Smoke rose from 3 places. Only 3. They descended in groups, roped together. The town they returned to was wounded. The hotel roof had collapsed into the dining room. The schoolhouse was split along one wall. Half the livery was gone. Cattle stood frozen along the south fence where ranchers had waited too long to bring them down. But 22 people walked out of the mountain alive, including a baby born while the town disappeared. News moved faster than shovels. By the end of the week, everyone knew where Nora had stored the food, who had laughed, who had carried secret provisions, and how close the ledger had come to reaching 0. A meeting was called in the church because it was the largest roof still standing. No one sat in the front pew until Nora entered. She chose a place near the back. Mayor Tomlin spoke from beside the cold iron stove. "We need to decide what to do with the mountain room." Cal Rusk stood. "We name it for Nora." Several voices agreed. "And the road to it." Nora looked at the floor. The mayor asked her to come forward. She did. "What do you want?" he said. Nora faced the people who had once watched her pull a sled uphill. Some looked ashamed, some grateful. Most looked tired. She placed her ledger on the pulpit. "I want every family to keep its own winter stores." A few people nodded. "And I want the high room filled before the first freeze, not after the first storm." Before. The mayor leaned closer. "With town funds, with town hands." That quieted the room. Nora continued. "Money can buy flour. It cannot carry it uphill. It cannot cut wood, clear the vent, test the braces, or remember which child needs medicine." She opened the ledger to the last page. "Winter keeps accounts." It counted every day we delayed, every roof we failed to brace, every sack we thought we could buy later. She looked at Wade, then at Mr. Bell, then at the men from the hotel. It also counted what people shared. No one suggested a monument again. That spring, Cinder Gap rebuilt the schoolhouse and livery. In August, Cal forged a new door for the high room. In September, ranchers carried salt meat and grain up the trail. Mr. Bell donated sealed tins. Ben Larkin brought slates, books, and chalk so children could stay occupied during an emergency. Ada Pike stocked bandages, birthing cloth, herbs, and a bottle of carbolic. Wade hauled more coal than anyone. Even families with almost nothing brought something small enough to fit in one hand: a candle, a jar of beans, a pair of dry socks, a box of matches dipped in wax. Nora recorded every item. Gideon Shaw appeared twice that autumn. He repaired the rear hatch, showed Nora where meltwater could be collected safely, and taught Cal how to hear when a timber brace was carrying too much weight. Then, one clear morning, he left his old survey compass on the ledger and walked east along the ridge. Nora never saw him again. Years passed. The railroad finally reached Cinder Gap, though it used a lower route. Electric wires came later. The hotel was rebuilt in brick. Children, who had slept beside the high-room stove, grew old enough to carry their own children up the trail. The story changed in the telling. Some said Nora had predicted the storm from the frozen bucket. Some said she had heard it inside the mountain. Some said Gideon Shaw was a ghost, though his compass remained in a glass case at the school. Nora corrected none of them. The truth was less magical and more demanding. She had watched. She had believed what she saw, and she had done the hard work before anyone applauded it. Every October, the people of Cinder Gap climbed beyond the cemetery, beyond the hunter's trail, and into the granite room. They checked the flue. They replaced old food. They counted blankets. They filled the shelves. Not because they feared every winter would become the worst one, because they had learned that survival was not a miracle hidden in the mountain. It was a promise carried uphill before the sky gave anyone a reason. After that, Cinder Gap never asked whether winter was coming. They asked whether their account was paid.